to another of Made Futures Live. Every Tuesday leading up to the Made Futures exhibition in March, we will be holding live interviews with members to talk about their inspirational stories that will be published in the Made Futures book, also to be released in March. So today we have Kieran. Hi Kieran, how's everything going?
Hello, Yasmin. I'm all right. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Thanks for joining us today. We're excited to hear your story, and I really enjoyed writing your article actually. So thank you for taking part today. So Kieran Marsden, he's an apprentice at Alucast, and after completing his GCSEs, Alucast had inquired about Kieran and expressed that they were impressed with his visit 2 years prior to him taking his apprenticeship. They offered Kieran the chance to join the business with a 5-year apprenticeship that would offer academic qualifications up to degree level. So, Kieran, thanks again for joining us. Firstly, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you chose a career in manufacturing / engineering industry specifically?
Again, thank you for asking me to come on. So my name's Kieran. I'm 20 years old, born and bred in the Black Country. And the reason I chose manufacturing or engineering is because I'm quite fascinated with the maths and the science / physics element behind the way things work, the way things are made, etc., etc. So I decided to turn that interest into a career, and here we are.
Oh, great. So it's something you always knew what you wanted to do and you went down that path, which is great. So firstly, let's go back to the beginning. So let's discuss how you gained the apprenticeship with Alucast. What did you do to get given that opportunity?
So back in high school, when I was around 14, I believe, in year 9, our design and technology class went on a trip to a manufacturing company locally, which ended up being Alucast. The aim of the day was a skills gap plot. The aim was to introduce younger people into engineering companies and manufacturing facilities to give them an insight into what is out there other than your traditional routes of, say, college or university. And as we went around the tour, the managers there felt like I was showing the most enthusiasm, was showing the most inquisitiveness, and generally just asking a lot of questions and being really vibrant during the day. So then, 2 years later, finish GCSEs, leave school, and I go and volunteer at the school sports day, where my design and technology teacher approaches me and says, "Look, the company we visited 2 years ago, Alucast, are really interested and they'd like to offer you an apprenticeship. So is it okay if I give your parents their contact details for them to get in touch?" And so went to the interview, had a tour, and they offered me the apprenticeship after the interview.
So how did that feel, like, to be picked out specifically, you to be the apprenticeship at Alucast?
Felt very privileged, to tell you the truth. It was a strange feeling because I don't feel like I deserve anything. I always think you should work to what you want to achieve. So it was very strange being happy. It was nice. It shows that the company wanted you there and you weren't just another person on the employee list, for example, and they had a plan, they had a vision, and they had something that they wanted you to aspire and achieve towards.
Yeah, sure. So you said earlier that it was your sort of first choice after leaving school. I think in the article you mentioned that you actually was thinking about university at first.
My original choice was A levels and university. Funny enough, because I didn't know that the apprenticeship scheme was still a thing. I heard about it prior, as in from, say, my dad, my granddad, uncles, who had all been apprentices, but I didn't think it was a thing for me to do. So my plan was to go and do A levels and enroll full time into university. But these skills gap really helped me understand that there are other alternatives out there other than college and university where you can achieve the same qualifications while also earning on the job experience. It's a real eye opener.
Yeah, definitely, and I think that's a big decision, isn't it, for a lot of people that are just leaving school and you know going into the world of work. You don't know whether you're going to stay in education or do something practical. But in terms of your experience, why do you think it's benefited you specifically for taking on such a practical academic route?
Other than, obviously, you've got the main advantages of you'll have industrial experience, you'll have experience with customer clientele, with actually manufacturing processes, quality standards, all that. But it helps you develop as a person. As in, before I started here, I was quite shy, shallow, didn't really know how to talk to anyone. But through being here over the past nearly 5 years, it's really helped me grow as a person. So it doesn't just help you with your career, it can help you with personal development, and it just makes you into a completely different person to oppose if you went to full-time education.
Yeah, yeah. And so I understand that from, we spoke before and we wrote an article up for you, didn't we, which will be featured in the Made Futures book, like I said, to be printed and distributed in March. You mentioned that you worked in sort of lots of areas of the business. So can you tell me a bit more about that and how this has benefited you in your engineering career so far?
Yeah, when I started, I was in the sales department because the company had an end goal of me ending up in the sales department. But through the apprenticeship, I transferred into the foundry department, dispatch, manufacturing, quality, accounting, basically every area of the business to try and learn the basics of each fundamental part of what makes a business succeed. And it gives you an insight into each department and helps you learn and experience the highs, the lows, the good times, the bad, and really have a full understanding of the entire company. So come the end of your apprenticeship, you'll have a better clarity of how to do your end function with all these added elements in the back of your mind. And it just really helps you to cement your knowledge and be able to portray that further and build upon the foundations that you learn.
Yeah, definitely. I certainly agree with what you're saying there. So, what area of the business did you work within that really stood out for you? That you felt, yeah, it's changed me as a person. I've learned the most within that department. Where was that within the business?
It's definitely the sales department. He has to be. Even though, as I said, I was a shallow person, being quote unquote thrown into the deep end. You either sink or swim. So you really do learn quickly how to talk to people you've never met before, how to go out and meet new people, how to even spark up a conversation with someone you've never spoke to in your life. It's the challenge and it's the reward afterwards when you get yourself out there, you start making friends within the industry, you start making business relations, and you really just, it's a snowball effect where you just gain confidence as you go, and it really helps you grow as a person in your career and personally.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And can you give us an example of maybe like one time that those communication skills like really came out for you and it developed a relationship with maybe a client, or it helped you get somewhere within your work due to the different departments you've worked in, specifically sales, as you mentioned, that definitely benefited you.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say his name, but it was a very senior member at the Aston Martin board. I had the opportunity to meet him on one of my visits.
Oh,
And
wow.
it was very nerve wracking, but I think I made a good impression. To this day, I think I made a good impression, but it's it was so nerve wracking. But to be able to introduce yourself, introduce the company, learn about him as a person, learn about what they're doing as a brand and as a company, um, really gave an insight into not just our company, but other companies around the UK and even globally. How you can get your foot in the door and help then snowball the customer relationship and then just build upon that. That was the highlight.
Yeah, definitely, and that's quite a big thing as to someone your age. So, when did you meet this senior person within Aston Martin? How old were you?
I might have it might have just been before I turned 18, so 2 years ago.
Yeah,
And back then, with the expression being wet behind the ears, it was very, very nerve wracking. But I had my manager at the time next to me, and he settled my nerves, helped me get through it, and turned out to be a very, very pleasant experience.
yeah, definitely. It sounds like it, and I suppose the apprenticeship, working in that sales department, has allowed you to gain these skills that you otherwise may not have, attained if you'd gone to university or gone to college. Like, not saying that those things, are worse than going to an apprenticeship, but without the apprenticeship, you wouldn't have had that opportunity and you wouldn't have gained those skills. Would you agree?
100%. full-time university, you spend the majority of your time with people your own age, which is fine, completely fine. But being an apprentice and talking to people across all age ranges, you learn how to communicate with different people, maybe from different backgrounds, different cultures, different ways of life. And that in itself just helps you to connect to people on a more personal level than just a business level, which can then help 100 times when you come to a new project, a new product, or if they have a problem, they know they can approach you and ask you because you've built that connection.
Yeah, most definitely. Okay, so moving forward, fast forward to now. So what are your main responsibilities within the business, and what would you recommend an engineering apprenticeship to other young people your age?
So my main responsibilities at the minute are in the sales department. They can range from quoting potential new work, building lasting customer relationships, creating new sales leads, creating business relationships with people you may have never met before. But then on the other end of the spectrum, it's getting involved with new projects that are coming into the business, chasing those through, becoming a project engineer for specific companies and making sure they're happy with their product at the end of the day. Tool design, casting simulation, liaising with different departments to make sure we're functioning well as a business.
Yeah, most definitely. And then, secondly, why would you recommend the sort of engineering apprenticeship route to other young people your age who maybe stuck between going for a degree or going to an apprenticeship?
I think the best reason is it really helps you turn those cogs inside your head. Instead of just seeing a theoretical situation on a piece of paper, you're presented with it in reality, and you have to find a solution that works, both in theory and in a practical sense. So it really does, for people who like a challenge, who want to step outside their comfort zone, it really does help spin the cogs compared to, like, as I just said, just sitting in the classroom and doing theory or doing a test or an exam. But then apprenticeships also offer the same level as a degree. So you can sort of get the best of both worlds, as in the practical side, the business side, and the personal side.
So, what has been your most rewarding project whilst working at Alucast? Would you say, just thinking back to since the beginning of your apprenticeship, what has been a really rewarding project that really stands out for you?
I'd say it was within the past year. I was involved in the project of the Aston Martin steering column that goes on their new car called the DBX. We produce two castings that go into the footwell, which hold the steering wheel column in place. It was down to the team here to develop the casting, make sure it was the integrity was there for it to be in the car itself through all the crash testing, the non-destructive testing, then the implementation for the finished product. And I was involved closely throughout the initial stages all the way through to the production level. So that was really good for me. I learned a lot during that period of time. Lasted maybe around 1.5 years, just under 2 years. It was definitely helped me grow as a person and gain a lot more experience and knowledge than I otherwise would have had. And it was very rewarding seeing the car afterwards, because
Yeah.
Aston was kind enough to sponsor some of us apprentices and managers to go down and see the car before it was unveiled to the public and have a look, see what was in there and the complete thing. And knowing that we have some castings and we've made these physical items which are now going to be sold off to whoever for whatever price, and knowing that we've contributed to them, it's a brilliant feeling.
Yeah, definitely. And I suppose that's one of the biggest things within manufacturing and engineering, isn't it? Is that you see you see where your hard work and your efforts go.
So yeah, you see where your hard work ends up, and it's not just for say writing an accounting ledger or a ledger book or invoices formats. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with them, but it's just a sheet of paper to me, where a physical product, you know where it's going, you know what it's going to do, and you know it's going to bring joy to many people who use said car, said train, said bus, plane. List goes on.
Yeah, definitely. Perfect. Okay. So now let's talk about your award that you won in 2017. So for those who don't know, in 2017, Kieran won the nationally recognised ICME. Sorry if I say this incorrectly. DUSEC? Is it DUSEC?
Yeah,
DUSEC. Perfect. Modern Apprentice of the Year award, an award which consisted of over 50 applicants across the UK from non-ferocious engineering backgrounds. So tell us more about this. What were you nominated and what does the award mean to you?
So the award's been a long-standing tradition within the ICME, who are the Institute of Cast Metal Engineers. This award's awarded to an apprentice every year, depending upon their activities within the business, how they feel they're growing, and how they're contributing to the business. You have to submit a 1,000 word article and go for an interview to the ICME board and explain your duties, how you're developing, how the education's going, what you feel like you're learning, all this and that. And then when we got the letter through the company post box, I was flabbergasted because being 17 years of age, I thought I had no chance of winning at all. So it was because of the senior management here that said, "Oh, take the chance, just go for it. What's the worst that can happen?" And I ended up winning. So being 17, I was ecstatic because I was seeing the fruits of my labour, and I was just really happy to be recognised for the work I've put in over the past year or so, and then to build upon that and go for more things in the future.
Yeah, definitely. I suppose it'd give you a surge of confidence, wouldn't you, to know that you're on the right path, you're doing the right thing.
It's a checkpoint, I like to call it, as in, so you know you're going along the right path. Loads of people were nominated, and all of them got recognised in one way or another. If not for this award, they were recognised for their hard work and contribution as they received a commendation certificate. So it weren't as if people were then dumped by the wayside saying, "Oh, you're no good, you're not doing well." Everyone was encouraged, and that just represents the industry as a whole. They encourage young talent, they want young people. Definitely something to get into.
Yeah, most definitely. It sounds like it. It sounds like it's been very beneficial for you in your career anyway. So I've got two more questions for you today, Kieran, but maybe we could sort of tie this into one. So in the article that we put together for you, it says that the team at Alucast thought you stood out. So I wanted to know, what did you do to make this happen? And in addition to that, just thinking about what you did in order to be offered this opportunity, what advice would you give to other people, just coming out of school, don't know whether to do A levels and go to university or to do an apprenticeship? What would your advice be to them?
In regards to the first question, I think it was just the energy and the inquisitiveness that got the senior managers on board. It mainly comes down to, do you want to be here and do you want to help us? And having someone who's willing to learn, who's willing to learn, wants to know everything, always asks questions, always the first person there, always says yes, never says no. It's those sort of things that definitely get senior people of companies interested in you as a person. And I think they saw that in me on our school trip, and they wanted to know more, hence the interview and the apprenticeship itself. And through the apprenticeship, you then continue to grow on those foundations, and you then become a person where you're full of confidence, you have the knowledge, you want to go out there and meet people and become the best engineer you physically can. And the company, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't put a specific word on it, but they really encourage it. As in, my chairman, Tony Sartorius, if you ask him about anything education-wise, you don't even have to finish your sentence. He's already signed the check to say you can go and do a course. Our company is 100% down for education and young people. In regards to the second question, my advice would be, go and research different alternatives to university and college. It was my main choice just because of the pure fact I did not know the apprenticeship scheme was still there. And to put that into perspective, I was just leaving school and the apprenticeship scheme started again, I think in the late 2010s, 11s, maybe slightly after. This was in 2016. So 5 years prior, I still didn't know it was a thing because my school didn't portray that. They were funneling people down the college and university path, which isn't a bad choice. But it's good to know that there are more choices out there, and people don't have to be afraid of not going to university and college full time, as in that isn't the only option. My advice would be, check the government website, check the Made in the Midlands website, Make UK, anything to do with apprenticeships. get your name out there, get involved. It's definitely the best choice.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, this is what this exhibition that we're holding at the end of March is all about. It's about, you know, people leaving school, university, not knowing what to do next. And we have over 500 members with apprenticeships like Kieran's here today, that these members could offer you. So definitely get out there, have a look, and visit madefutures.com from the 22nd to the 26th of March. But thank you for joining us today, Kieran. You've been an absolute brilliant guest on today, a great speaker, and it was great to hear your story. So you can watch out for Kieran's story in the Made Futures book, like I said, which we published in early March, titled as Kieran's Journey as an Apprentice at Alucast. And we will also be publishing the article on our website later today, so have a look there as well, and you can watch this event back. Otherwise, we look forward to seeing everybody here next week to hear from another Made in Yorkshire member with Made in Group's Joe Maiko. So thank you again for joining us today, Kieran.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
No problem at all. It's lovely speaking to you. See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.